It's not hard to love Bugsnax is like a concept. I mean, look at this little guy. It's a hamburger with big old googly eyes. It's, as Beffica would say, totes adorbs. So when Young Horses showed off a really big bunger to announce that Bugsnax would be receiving free DLC, I was sold pretty quickly. I wrote about my general thoughts on Bugsnax a while back, link in the description and the card thing on the top right? So this review will only be discussing the new content included with Bugsnax, the Isle of Bigsnax. And I tell you what, these Bugsnax are big, alright. The Isle of Bigsnax is unlocked towards the end of the game after the involved characters' questlines have been fully completed. Once done, Snorpy will bring the journalist to the beach where a new island bursts from the sea. The journalist and 4 other explorers set out to find the new secrets of this sunken island. Where the main game was separated into various different areas, the DLC wound up just being a really big area. There's not even really more stuff to do, this space feels like it's mainly to accommodate how big these new Bugsnax are. The DLC utilizes the different items from the base game very well, with special emphasis on the grappling hook and the buggy ball. And to account for the increased size, it introduces shrinking powder to the journalist's repertoire. So as a basic mechanic, each of the new Bugsnax are caught by throwing the powder at the snacks and figuring how to trick their shrunken selves into the tripwire or the catcher unit. There are also walls where the journalist has to navigate the buggy ball around various hazards. These are neat and break up the pacing of the island fairly well. In the end, none of the new Bigsnax were the hardest to catch, but the size did add a neat twist to an already fun mechanic of catching these little guys. Or big guys now, I guess. As far as story, the Isle of Bigsnax follows Triffany, Chandlo, Floofy, and Shelda as they navigate various parts of this new island. Initially they are all fighting, but learn to get along and rely on one another by the end. During each of their quests, they usually ask the journalist to catch one of the new snacks, solve a specific puzzle, usually involving the grappler Strawby, and eventually the journalist has to get them to talk to their traveling companions. It's a pretty tight story with well-written and performed dialogue. I can't say the DLC looks any better than the regular game, and the new music is on par with the rest of the score. About half the cast recorded some new lines for the DLC. I was expecting only the 5 involved with the DLC to return, but a few others were brought in for the non-Bigsnax content that was also added. A few other main features were added along with the new area. At some point during the story, but for me right at the end game, the other residents of Snaxburgs build the journalist their very own house. So now this house can be furnished to the player's delight. These furnishings are collected by doing letter requests for the other explorers. By completing more requests, the journalist gets more furniture, and eventually the house gets a second floor, all customized to how the player wants. And some of these requests are really clever. A handful require some pretty interesting platforming to get up to high areas where the villagers have lost their belongings. A few others involve getting other Bugsnax to interact with one another in creative ways, like scanning a couple fight or one sucking the juice from another. Most of these were really clever, and I had a pretty good time trying to figure out how to get this event to occur. But there are like almost 100 of these quests, and the cool ones only make up about a dozen. The rest consist of going around the island and catching even more of the same Bugsnax from the base game. Catch another cheese puff, catch all the orange ones again, catch a bunch of the chocolate ones, catch all the bosses again. Honestly, this whole process became really frustrating. When starting up, I initially had a bunch of requests autocomplete for my initial 100% playthrough, and doing the initial batch that followed was pretty fun, but the sheer amount I had to do all in a row was exhausting. I imagine for people starting new playthroughs, especially those on Xbox or Switch where the game launched with the DLC, these letters would be well integrated with the game progression. And if the player is only going for trophies or achievements, doing all their quests isn't even required. The trophy only requires a full house, which can be completed fairly quickly. But for people like me, with bad brain bugs that require full, absolute 100% completion, it's a grating experience. And in the end, there wasn't even any fanfare for doing them all. I had an empty mailbox and a whole bunch of furniture I would never use. The other feature added in the DLC is hats. Among the variety of Bugsnax across the island, some will occasionally be wearing hats. By catching them, the journalist can put them on donated Bugsnax in Gramblow's ranch, and after catching the first one, a picture hung up in the ranch shows the location of the next. This process was a little bit tedious. Sometimes it would take a while to find the capped Bugsnax, and in the end it was just catching even more snacks, but only 10 are required for the trophy, or if you're like me and need them all, there's only 25, and they made for good breathers in between the letter requests. And that's the end of the announced content. But, and it's a really cool but, there is an item found on the new island. After finding it, a mysterious Grumpus will send the journalist a letter hinting at where to use it. And this new thing was super cool to both discover and solve. And I don't want to explain any more, because a lot of my enjoyment of it was from the surprise. I'm just really happy that none of the marketing even hinted at it, because it was really cool. And that is Bugsnax, the Isle of Bigsnax. If you like Bugsnax, you'll like Bigsnax. The letter mechanic was a bit too much, but the island and content stemming from it was a really tight package. And there's hats too, I guess. I give Bugsnax, the Isle of Bigsnax, a Bunger Royale out of 10. I almost gave it a cheddar, but I'm not the biggest fan of cheese. Also, Bunger Royale reminds me of that one scene from Pulp Fiction, which is a complete non sequitur. So, thanks for watching. If you watched the video, maybe leave a rating down below. If you super liked it, sub for more, and while you're down there, leave a comment talking about, I don't know, your favorite food? I think my favorite is the burrito. Putting stuff in a tortilla is so versatile and always good. This is of course excluding the fact that I have an addiction to chocolate. I mean, that's what I said when Chicory asked me for my favorite food. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Whoa, whoa, it's Bugsnax.